Hi
Hey.
everyone. Okay, we're on live. This is awesome. Okay. Hi everyone. So today we have two awesome CPB members, Ananda and I, and Janae coordinating our meeting. We're just here to talk to you all today about RVP. And we'll definitely explain what that is. But again, my name is Gauia. I go by the pronouns she, her, hers, or new. And I'm a community power builder lead here at Freedom Inc. And I can have my other lead introduce herself.
Thank you, Gaia. My name is Ananda. I use she, her, hers as well. I'm a community power building lead as well and help with the mutual aid team. And I'll pass it back to you, Gaia, to get us started.
Awesome. So yeah, everybody, we would like to talk about the relational voter program today. And again, our relational voter program is when we check in with our communities for one, to make sure if they know how to vote. Um, and for two, if they're registered to vote or know how to register. And three is if they have a plan to vote. And four is to get out and vote. So essentially, this is like an informal phone bank where we're, casually checking up on our friends, family, acquaintances to see if they would like to vote together with you or help you help other folks, right, get to the polls or turn in their absentee ballots. This is a really nice way to practice, community care and to check up on one another.
Hmm. And yeah, we also want to acknowledge the inaccessibility of the term like RVP. It stands for Relational Voter Program, but even just hearing that, it sounds really formal and like this whole big thing. But in actuality, like before, like the powers that be gave it a name, this technique has been one that our Black and Brown communities have been doing since forever. Like when you think about it, we've always been checking in with each other. We've always been asking, who are you voting for? And like silently judging each other for their choice, at least in my house. But that being said, so you might hear us continue to call it RVP Challenge. That's what the bit.ly link that we're going to drop has it called. But in reality, it's more of a voter turnout challenge or a voting together challenge. Because when our community votes together, we have way more power than if we vote individually, and more power than we think we do. We know that the system is set up against us, and that it's not a system built where we're meant to thrive. But if our communities do get ready together to vote, we could have a common council that actually reflects what the community wants and needs. So, yeah, voting together challenge.
So yeah, folks don't have to stick to the term RVP at all. Instead we're actually just changing it and just we're going to tell folks, that we're going to vote together, and we're going to vote for turnout. So that's really important. For the next following weeks until the April 6th elections, we're asking that you all do this voting together challenge with us, right? To make sure that our loved ones in our community are turning out at the polls and to make sure that we're bringing our power to the polls, right? Because we definitely have power when we vote, and when we choose elected officials that are for us and for our communities. So something that we've created to make this challenge more easy and more sufficient for everyone, we created an RVP challenge survey. So let me share my screen. So we created an RVP challenge survey. So this is a survey you can fill out every time you help somebody, get out their vote or you help somebody prep to vote, right? And I think this is especially important in the Southeast Asian community when we have folks who don't have, English skills and don't know the language, right? And language is very inaccessible when it comes to voting. So if you have the capabilities, definitely use that skill and help folks with limited English skills by filling out this survey. So fill out this survey for every person you help. And again, RVP stands for Relational Voter Program, and this challenge is meant to inspire people within the community to be active in elections at the national and local level. So I'll show you all what the survey looks like and how you all can fill it out. So basically, if you help somebody, let's say I'm helping Ananda, right? So I'll put Ananda's first name and her last name. I'll also put Ananda's email address. and then a phone number that we can reach Ananda as well. And then you need that person's date of birth as well, and their street address. Um, and if they don't, have a street address, it's okay to put down like no street address as well. And then a zip code, like an area they live in. And then you can check the registration status by going on to myvote.wisconsin.gov to check the registration status. And we'll just check yes or no if they're registered to vote or not. And then you're going to ask this person if they plan to be voting on the April 6th election specifically. So just for this election, it's not for any other elections. Um, and they will also ask folks, their plans to vote. So do they plan to vote in person at the polls? Do they plan to vote early? Because early voting does start before April 6th as well. Or do they plan to vote absentee, right? To get a ballot mailed to them and they mail it back or drop it off at the polls? Or do they need help to vote, or will they not be voting this election? So it's very important to be specific when asking folks how they plan to vote, and just knowing if they're ready and prepared to vote. And then, if folks put down that they need help to vote, you can just use a few sentences to describe how you help them, or how you all may need like additional help to prepping. And our team is definitely here to help you all prep as well. And then again, you just ask them like how they heard about this RVP challenge, how they heard about this voting together challenge, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the basics of this survey. And come back. I'll let Ananda take us to the next segment.
Yeah, so here we are talking about like how we all need to vote together, why we need to turn out the vote, but let's talk about like why it's so important that we do vote, especially in local elections. So local elections are incredibly important because the decisions that our local officials make will directly impact almost every aspect of our lives, like immediately. Our representatives will have direct control over where our resources go, what parts of the city get funding, like if they want to invest in more funding for housing or transportation or like food security. Those are all the decisions that our alders, our representatives, will be making. And they'll also, the people that will be voting in terms of the state superintendent, they will be making decisions about our educational system. So to kind of recap what I'm saying, on Tuesday, April 6th, amongst other people, you will have the option to vote for your alders and your superintendents. So I'll explain those positions a bit more. The alders, the people who we vote to get in the common council, those are people who will represent their district. Like a district is a small section of a city, and they will serve on the common council and decide how the city budget is distributed. So it's really important that you choose a candidate that has similar values or similar concerns as you, because they will be the one advocating like, oh yeah, we need to put a lot more money in housing, and here is where we should take that money and where we should put it, And they also serve on different committees that deal directly with these issues. So that's how they get to decide which of the issues get the most resources. So you got to pick somebody good, and we'll be releasing some candidate cards soon about how they answer certain questions, so that you'll be able to make a more informed decision. So be on the lookout for those. And you'll also be choosing the state superintendent of public instruction. So that's a long phrase. So what does that mean? So a superintendent at a statewide level, they will be the person who will have real decision-making power in deciding what course our education system goes on a statewide level. Now, this is always important, but it is especially important during a pandemic. And it's twice as important because our youth, people under 18, they can't vote for the person calling all the shots in terms of public education. So it's super important that we look into these people, we really know what they stand for, so that we can make an informed decision on their behalf and on the behalf of our families too. Me and Gaia are currently students. Online learning sucks, to put it simply. And so we really do need someone who is in that position, who cares for our youth, who will be able to support them in ways that this pandemic has really messed up. So again, we'll be voting for our alders and our state superintendents of public instruction this April 6th. It's a Tuesday. But Galea is going to have more information about like how you can go and vote and like when you should go and vote. So I'll pass it to her.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ananda, for encouraging everybody to vote. Again, this is super important. You should have an elected official who knows, your neighborhood, who knows the issues that families are experiencing, especially through this pandemic right now. And again, we have to vote for our young folks who don't have this political power to, participate in elections. So that's really important as well. And yeah, just before I move on to the next step, do folks have any questions right now for Ananda and I? I'll take any questions, so feel free to put in any questions. So yes, if you look at our caption, you can vote early next week, right? Starting March 23rd, you can go to the polls and start voting early. So that means you don't have to wait until election day to vote or to wait in like long lines. Go ahead early. And we highly suggest this, for our elders if they want to go vote in person, but they don't want to on the day of. Voting early in person is definitely more sufficient for folks, right? And again, you can go to myvotedownsconsin.gov to request your absentee ballot today. And you can have it sent to your house. And the safest way, for folks not contract like COVID or other such things during this time is to just request an absentee ballot. And again, do it by today to have it sent to your house. And just make sure that you email it back to your polling place at least, I would say at least 2 weeks to 1 week ahead before the elections. If not, if you're concerned about, if your ballot didn't make it to the your polling location, feel free to drop it off at the polls during the day of election. Or again, you can go to myvotedownsconsin.gov to track your absentee ballot. So you can track if they already received it, or if they did not. So those are some really important due dates, some important things that folks need to remember for this election. So do we have any questions?
And while we're waiting for questions, something important that I just want to add is that yesterday was the deadline to register online or by mail. But if you missed the deadline, you can still register on April 6th, the day of elections. You just need your ID and a proof of residence. So that looks like, a piece of mail so that it shows that your address is on there. If you do not have a current address, you can also request a form from any shelter you might be at or the shelter of someone and they can give you a form as that proof of residence as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and if folks need more assistance around this, or if they have any more questions around, the Voting Together challenge that we'll be doing from now up until elections, feel free to reach out to our Facebook page. We'll answer y'all. We'll try to get the help y'all need as much as we can help you all. And yeah, I think it's really important because we just, got done with the presidential election, and folks are, I think they're just re-energizing again after such a big election, but they tend to forget these small elections that, like Ananda said, are really impactful to our daily lives. So yeah, with that, I don't see any questions, so I'll close us off. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today on live, and definitely encourage everybody to do the Voting Together challenge. Encourage your friends, text them, share this live, anything.
Mm-hmm. And we know that after this live, y'all know the importance of voting, and then y'all will get out and vote. But to ensure that you do the challenge, we do have some cash prizes for y'all. The people who reach out to the most people, who make sure that their friends and families got what they need to go out and vote, we will be giving, what is it? What was the first prize? Like $100 or something?
$100 gift card.
It's $100, y'all. And we're doing first, second, and third prizes. So please continue to fill out that form. Submit it as many times as you need to for every person you touch base with and check in on. And then we'll be following up to see who gets these prizes. So really get out here.
Thank you, everybody. Let's get out the vote.
Yes, let's get out that vote. Thank y'all.